Good Monday morning, everybody. It is Christmas week. I hope everybody had a great weekend. Hope everyone has a great holiday week. Spend your time with your family. Open your presents. Maybe get that gift, that special something that you wanted for so long. Kind of like us Lions fans that needed a win yesterday. We didn't get it. We got a little bit of coal in our stocking. Welcome back. It's Paul from PB Sports Talk joining you this Monday. I'm in a bad mood. I just am in a bad mood. I have managed some kind of way over the Lions season this year not to get too high, not to get too low, but I'm low right now. And as a longtime former coach, I usually don't get on. I don't like to get on coaches. I don't like to get on injuries. I don't like to get on referees and calls and things like that. I just don't. But maybe I'm going to strike a little bit different tone this morning because, as I said, I'm in a bad freaking mood and I'm just upset because it seems like more of the same. So let me start by saying this. If you guys don't know me, I'm a huge Lions supporter. I'm 53 years old, just relocated to Florida about 10, 11 months ago. Born in Detroit, lived there for 19 years, moved to a suburb of Detroit for the next, 33 years or so. Just relocated to Florida. I am Lions through and through. I've suffered for my entire life of the Lions coming up short, being a National Football League embarrassment forever. And in the last 5 years, it's been a joy and a privilege to enjoy this run by this team and rebuild it and get it away from that and actually have something to root for every day. And not come on. I mean, I just started doing this, a year and a half ago, and more seriously, the last, say, 6-8 months. But listening to people on the radio, a lot like Cleveland does today. I always use Cleveland because Cleveland is a mirror image of what Detroit used to be, and they just can't get it right. And they're poorly run, managed, coached, the whole nine, the ownership, everything's involved to make things very, very bad for that team. And that's how it was for the Lions. And so in all honesty, it has been a joy and a privilege to actually have Lions games that are meaningful, to actually determine, or have an opinion on what play this, what this call, that play, what should we have done in here, who should we have drafted, and have it not just be a total, basically like in a sports context, a slaughterhouse of the Lions are awful and same old Lions and all this type of stuff. It's been good to not do that and to feel proud of what you have, and you have a team that's competing. And you were within you were within with a 3-point lead at halftime, 30 minutes from going to the Super Bowl. Yes, I'm that guy. 5 years ago, 3.5 weeks after Dan Campbell was hired, I put the prediction out there and I was loud about it. Across all of social, everywhere it could go, I had stated that the Lions would be in the Super Bowl within 5 seasons. Yes, close in Santa Clara against the Niners, up again, 3 points at half. All you had to do was close it out. You didn't get it. So I'm going to take my medicine today and say the Lions season is over and that prediction is over. It's come to an end. There's no way Green Bay is going to lose to Baltimore. They could lose to Baltimore, which is just what a horrible team that is. You can see what I've said about them on YouTube, and hit that with your phone. Go ahead and scan that QR code in the upper right-hand corner. That takes you to our YouTube page. Smash that subscribe button. You can see that type of material. Let's see who we got commenting here. What's going on, Austin? How you doing, buddy? You a Detroiter, Austin? I hope you're ready to hear this if you are. Scan that code up there. You can go to my YouTube page, our YouTube page, and you can see what I said about Baltimore a couple of weeks ago on a short, and it sure is aging well. So Green Bay could lose to them, but they're not losing to Minnesota in the final week, with everything on the line. They're just too good. You could even say Jordan Love's going to be out for 2 weeks in concussion protocol. It won't matter. And the reality is the Lions controlled their destiny for quite some time now. They didn't have full control of their destiny yesterday. They still needed help, but you have to win your games, and you have to win your games no matter what you're up against. Home, road, injuries, not injuries, calls, no calls, whatever it is, you have to find a way. And after just a subpar performance throughout the entire game, you're down on the goal line, play ends with 39 seconds left. You get to the line with 29 seconds left on the 1 yard line with 1 timeout left. Even after all of that, you had a chance to win the game. You are subpar on both sides of the ball. Your offensive line is in tatters. Your defense is in tatters, getting gashed. And I'm going to get to that in a moment, because we just have to call things what they are. I'll do that in a moment. But after an entire game of inconsistency and scratching your heads, they find a way to rally and get to that point down 5. You're looking, obviously, field goals, no help. You need to score a touchdown. You do score a touchdown. It gets called back. And you had a chance. You didn't get it done. So we can sit here and we can pout, we can cry about injuries or whatever. You had a chance. You scored a touchdown. It was called back because, number one, you called a play that involved a pick. And what is one of the most heavily called plays in professional football? There's an emphasis on it by the league. I understand the reasoning of why you want to call that, but you are leaving yourself open for extra scrutiny and extra attention. And if it is not executed, there's some plays you can execute that are not 100% properly executed, and you can get away with it. But that is just one thing that they are looking for. It must be perfectly executed or the flag's going to come out. So while, again, I understand the thought process behind making the call in that moment, with that on the line, with the percentage chance that you could get a penalty called there and go back 10 yards, and you went from 1st and goal at the 1 to 1st and goal at the 11, it's like you just can't, you can't put yourself in that position, and you put a rookie in that position, if I'm not mistaken. Tesla is the one who performed the pick, or lack of executed the pick. So I'll get back to that in a moment. And so, it's 2 seasons now. There's a guy I follow on X, a big Lions fan, and he says, it's not even fun to watch, because your entire team, basically, not your entire team, but both sides of the ball is just decimated with injuries all over. And I don't like to make that excuse, because so many teams have injuries. Like, if I'm not mistaken, New England had 8 guys out last night. You can look at teams like San Francisco without Bosa and Warner, and they still find ways to win. They find other guys to step up. They scheme to do different things to come out with the victory anyways. When you decimate an offensive line, though, I don't think that there is too much you can do about it when it is at 3/5 of your offensive line. If you include Frank Ragnow, they had their 4th center. 4. That's 8, but 4 centers. I don't know how you overcome that. I don't know if coaching can overcome that. Again, I've been a coach. I've had guys in foul trouble. I've had guys, as basketball, I've had guys in foul trouble. I've had guys banged up. I've had guys hurt. I've had guys with life problems in big games and big moments. And it's like nothing at that level, but you got to find a way. But how do you find a way on your 4th freaking center? I don't think that's a realistic ask for any team. And it's just constant. You got people putting up the Lions staff and their whole medical staff and athletic training staff, and people say fire the whole staff. How is this happening? Why is this happening? How could there be so much of it? Right? Not just this year, but last year. And it's just decimating a team. And it's like the Lions are one of the deeper teams in the NFL. And it's like your depth gets wiped out, and then your second layer and level of depth gets wiped out. You're playing guys off the street, off the practice squad, it's crazy. It's totally crazy to watch. But at the end of the day, it's like you can't make an excuse. So let's just think about this for a second. So the Steelers are 24th in the league in rushing yards per game. 24th in the league in rushing yards per game. We can say whatever we want about the back end and Branch and Joseph and Arnold and whoever else you want to say. There is support that's required, and there's safety support required there to help your second level of the defense. If Jaylen Warren or whoever the running back is gets through the first level and the second level, your safety's supposed to be there to prevent exactly what happened, 45-yard run twice and getting gashed like that. But let me just ask you a question. Where is the first level of defense? Where is the second level of defense? This is your front seven. This is not a juggernaut offensive team by any means. Rodgers makes them better. I got it. And he's very, very smart and gets rid of the ball. And he's in full control. Doesn't matter if he's 40, 41. It doesn't matter. They're better with him than Justin Fields or Russell Wilson or any of the other guys that they had. But come on, there's just no excuse for it. Tyleik Williams, I had to look this up this morning. It was kind of shocking to me. This is the entire season. 14 total tackles, 6 solo, 8 assists. 8 assists. Where's Reeder? Where is Aleem McNeil? Does anybody have an APB out on Aleem McNeil? Where is the difference maker that he was? I understand you coming off an injury that had you out for so long, but you've been back since Thanksgiving. It's freaking Christmas. This is what, your 4th or 5th game back? Where are you at, bro? And Aiden Hutchinson. All right, so I've been back and forth, and I don't go back and forth on guys. I'm known for taking a position. I stay on that position. If it's right, great, I talk about it. If it's wrong, great, I talk about it, and I own it. I didn't like Aiden Hutchinson coming out of Michigan. I didn't think he translated to the pros. I was wrong, and the guy was a beast there for a period of time. But in the moments where you need it most, where you just need to get there at any cost, no matter what. Yeah, he had whatever, 1.5 yesterday or 2 sacks. I get it. But in the moments where you need it most, where is he? Like, where is he when you just need a play to change everything to save your season? Where is it? You cannot lose that game yesterday. You just can't. And after after a team, you get gashed for a 45-yard touchdown, your team comes back, gets you a touchdown, gives you yet another chance, and you let it happen again. Again. This is 27th in total defense, Pittsburgh is. So your offense gives you a chance. They're battling all day. They're all over the place. They can't protect. They can't run the ball because suddenly 37-year-old Hayward's a beast. There's no TJ Watt there, and you can't figure out a way for however many quarters to be as effective as you normally are. You're what, 31, 32 point a game team? And you're totally struggling all day, and you get to 24, and boy, did that take everything you had. And it's like, so where is the big play? Where is the difference maker? All right, let me pose this question. So let's just say the offensive line is what the offensive line is. Let's say make no hypothetical changes to that. If Branch was there, if Joseph was there, and if Arnold was there on one side, and you had Reed on the other side, do you win that game? I'm not convinced. I am not convinced that you win that game. I'm talking about the Lions and the Steelers. I'm not convinced if you have those guys in there, you still win that game. DJ Reed is not good. Terry and Arnold is not good. In my opinion, both of them are basically backups. I hate to say it. I really do. Because this is a reflection on Brad Holmes, who I'm a big supporter of. Yeah, oh, okay, thanks. You're welcome. Are you either? Are you a Lions fan or are you a Steelers fan? If not, who are you a fan of? I'm curious. And how'd you hear about us? Did you just see it? You just see the live pop up? Thanks for joining, whatever the reason. It's like I just feel like Pittsburgh would have schemed a certain kind of way and still found a way. Maybe you don't give up a 45-yard play, but I could still see Rodgers dinking and dunking the ball down the field to Gainwell, to Warren, to Jonnu Smith, Freiermuth, whoever it was needed. They're going to find a way. Scantling. And it's like, is this, I don't do runs. If you watch my stuff, I don't believe in runs. Or windows, excuse me. I don't believe in windows of winning. Poor organizations have windows of winning. Great teams have There is no windows of winning. Nah, the Chargers. I was scrolling through lives and saw the sports background. Yeah, I love the Chargers. I love Justin Herbert. Check out our YouTube page and what I've said about Justin Herbert in the past. Scan the QR code in the upper right-hand corner. Hope you subscribe, follow our stuff. I talk about Justin a lot. Love that guy. I believe he's a Hall of Famer right now. And I do talk about that in one of the videos. You guys are very blessed to have him over there. And the heat he takes, it should never be. But anyways, where was I? Rodgers would have found a way. I just truly believe that. And it's disappointing. And I got to be honest, usually I'm that guy with the answers. Usually I'm that guy with the opinion. And I ran a poll last night, 67%. When I asked the question, should Dan Campbell be fired? 67% said no way. And the other 33% said yes. Do I believe that's the answer to fire Dan Campbell? No, I don't. Do I feel that you need to have a shakeup in the front office and remove Brad Holmes? No, I don't. But I'm here to tell you, and I supported what they have done all the way up until this point. They have been responsible. They've been disciplined. They have the, I think, 5th highest cap space. They have in the lowest quarter of dead cap space, I believe, or 3rd. So they are fiscally responsible. They are financially responsible. They don't act irrationally and emotionally and make knee-jerk reactions. So like the Pittsburgh Steelers, Asante Samuel comes available, they go sign him. Darius Slay, they go sign him. All these guys, they're just signing. They're throwing caution to the wind. Does it make sense? I don't know. They're going to get their ass knocked out if they make the playoffs anyways. And you can look on our YouTube page about that. And what I've said about Mike Tomlin, it's got a lot of hits and people like that. He needs to go. That needs to change. This is all a mirage. A 10-win team means nothing. Are you legitimately competing for the Super Bowl every year? That's how I judge greatness. And they're not. They're competing to get to 10 wins or a guaranteed winning season that he's so well known for, but you get bounced immediately and you get embarrassed. Usually, you haven't had Aaron Rodgers in that position before. We'll see, but that's an average team at best. They are who they are, and they beat a very depleted team yesterday who couldn't get out of their own way. And it took Aaron Rodgers magic, which, by the way, Aaron Rodgers is not allowed at Ford Field anymore. Can we just ban him at the door? This guy just throws up balls, and it's like, are you serious? Richard Rodgers, now Gainwell, laying on the ground sideways. Somehow the ball doesn't hit the ground. Mr. Two-Watch, Jim Caldwell, doesn't put Charles Rogers. Oh, my God. Calvin Johnson in the game and the Hail Mary. Green Bay 10 years ago. I believe it was the Thursday night game. Ridiculous. Don't let him in. You can't have that play happen. You just can't. And why does it seem, and I know this happens for other teams, man, the New Orleans Saints, when Peyton was there down close with that stupid non-PI call, is it just me? Why are so many touchdowns being called back in the NFL? Why does it seem like there's a flag on almost every touchdown? It doesn't matter who I'm watching. It is all across the league. I'm bouncing here, but why is Amon-Ra St. Brown running a route that's short of the goal line in that spot? Just curious. He's working back to the ball. I get it. But why is he running short of the goal line? Why? You get stopped at the 1, you got a mess, you got a scramble going on, you got the timeout, I get it, but why? Why is Jamison Williams literally right behind him on that play, I believe? They're in the same spot. Why is that? How did that happen? It's frustrating, man. Hindsight's always 20/20. You can look at the result, and then you want to look back and you want to say, "Oh, should have done this or should have done that." I don't typically like to do that, but you must question it. You have to score. You're first and goal from the 1 freaking yard line. 39 seconds. The play is dead. The previous play is dead. You have a first and goal. 28, 29 seconds. You are coming up on the line with 1 timeout, and you can't score. And you get a 10-yard penalty. Yeah, I'm upset. I'm in a bad mood freaking Christmas. Yeah, let's watch the Lions on Christmas Day again. And it doesn't matter. And by the way, Netflix and Amazon must be pissed because you got 3 games that either one or both teams are completely out of the playoff race. Yeah, you got Denver. They're playing for positioning, but they're not. I mean, who's going to watch? Bettors are going to watch. Football is football. I get it, but man, it just doesn't mean the same. So where do we go from here, Lions fans? Again, you don't axe everybody. You don't get rid of everybody because I don't think that's going to solve anything. This philosophy, we're going to coach them up. Listen, I'm here to tell you, I feel like I was a pretty good coach, and I was blessed with some good players, some really good players, and some really good teams, and I won 7 championships as a basketball coach. But I'm going to give it to you on the real. You can win without the best talent, and I was able to do that in a couple spots. But I won a whole lot more when I had a lot more talent. And talent makes coaches, and coaches makes talent. There's a balance of both. Both are needed. 100% both are needed. You typically can't do one without the other. Just look at Drake May. I don't believe Drake May was anything close in college to what he has become. That is a big-time product of having Josh McDaniels work with him. If he works with, another 20 other coordinators in the league, probably doesn't have this result. So May needs to make the plays, but McDaniels needs to coach him. And you put the two together and you get it to work well, this is the product you get. At what point are the Lions going to take some chances and maybe go get some stars? And I'm not talking about just building through the draft. I'm talking about taking a chance. And a lot of times when you build through the draft and you have something like Jameson Williams and you have St. Brown who you have locked up, and you have guys like Khalif Raymond and Laporta, but then you draft a guy like Tesla. I mean, you have to think about who might I be able to move to bring me talent in other areas that I am deficient in, and it's costing us. Like cornerback. Why is it so hard for the Detroit Lions to get a top flight cornerback? Why? That can shut down guys. Why? Every team knows they can beat them even when they're healthy. You just attack. You're going to attack Terry and Arnold all day. You're going to attack DJ Reed all day. It doesn't matter who you put out there with who's on the roster right now. I know they don't grow on trees. And I don't believe in Sauce Gardner as an example. And my co-host Luke played against Sauce Gardner, and they beat them and stopped them from getting into the state championship game. Luke was a quarterback. So I'm not saying a guy like, so you don't just go get a name. I don't even think he's that good. I really don't. And they're not everywhere. I get it. But at what point? Man. So freaking frustrating. I believe in the team approach. I believe in depth throughout. I believe in not top-end spending. Then you get some injuries and you have depth issues and you can't recover. And you're top-heavy with a couple of stars with massive contracts. Look at the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow doesn't even want to be there anymore. And Joe Burrow is making all these statements and hoping maybe this is his angle and his strategy to get them to go do this or that. Mike Brown doesn't know what he's doing in Cincinnati. You don't tie up $126 million into 3 players. I'm a big T. Higgins guy. I'm a big Jamar Chase guy. I'm a big Joe Burrow guy. But you can't pay all 3 of those players and leave everything else empty on your team because you're going to give up 40 a game and you're going to have to score 45. It's not a winning formula. And if one of those guys goes down, you're finished. You don't have the depth. Yes, I'm a Lions fan. Born and raised in Detroit. Yes, Lions fan my whole life. You can't recover from that. So I'm not saying go do what they do. Don't go do what the Bengals do. But at the same time, don't go do what the Buffalo Bills do. You got Josh Allen, a historically great quarterback. He's going to go down as one of the greatest quarterbacks. And at the rate they're going, he may end up being like a Dan Marino and be one of the greatest ever to never win because they can't give him the weapons around him. It's like, figure it out already. Yeah, you feel me? You Bills Mafia. It's like, why is it that certain guys can't figure that out? And Brad Holmes, I'm telling you, the guy is legit. He's legit. When you have John Schneider over in Seattle, you have Les Snead over in for the Rams. You had guys like Ozzie Newsome for Baltimore. These guys know what they're doing. Howie Roseman over in Philadelphia. These guys know what they're doing. I'm not an anti. Who they got? Who does Buffalo have next week? Tell me that. I'll answer your question. He's asking, should I start Josh Allen in my fantasy football championship game next week? I don't have the schedule up. Tell me who Buffalo's got and who's your other quarterback. It's Josh and Philly. And who's your other quarterback besides Josh Allen? Come on, bro. Who's your other quarterback besides Josh Allen? And we got to look into his ankle too. People are like, yeah, Shedeur Sanders, he outplayed Josh Allen. Dude torqued his ankle down on the goal line when they Jordan Love. Yeah, you got a problem there. You got a problem there. I'm a huge Jordan Love guy, and that's a must-win game. But coming off concussion protocol, I'm not sure. I still got to go with Josh Allen. But I would monitor both players' injuries very closely. So Brad Holmes, it's like at some point you guys have got to break from the formula a little bit. You are created, engineered to sustain this. Yeah, you're right about that. I agree. Allen didn't even need to do anything because the run game did all the work. Yeah, and the average fan doesn't know that. And I see it all over X. Oh, Shedeur Sanders outplayed him. You got to look at what it was. The guy says Josh Allen didn't throw a touchdown, and he's comparing Shedeur Sanders 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions in a 64 quarterback rating against Allen, who I believe was an 83 quarterback rating. And you're right, he didn't need to do it because James Cook went crazy. So it's like at some point now, you have got to take a chance, and you've got to put a couple of star players. Yeah, he raked his ankle, Josh Allen, on that play where he was circling back and it was almost a safety. It was on that play that he got hurt, banged up. I mean, I don't think it's anything serious, but he's feeling it. I mean, there's a difference between being hurt and injured. So he's hurting, but I don't think he's full-blown injured. At some point here, you've got to shore up the things by bringing in difference makers and not just the team guys. They have a philosophy, right guy, right fit, right money. I get it, and I buy into it. I absolutely buy into it. And I love that thought process. And when you do that, you're built to last for a very, very long time. Look at the guys on the back of my screen here. Brady and Belichick did it for years. Players developed, they got really good, they moved them on because they didn't pay them the crazy, crazy money. Jeez, Gibbs or CMC? I mean, can you please talk about my Falcons? I'm a big Michael Penix guy. I'm getting off track here, Lions fans. Bear with me a moment. I'm a big Michael Penix guy. I'm a big Bijan Robinson guy. Drake London. Obviously, you don't have Penix there. You have a problem. And Raheem Morris, I like him. I like him as a person. I like him as a coordinator, but I don't like him as a head coach. Zach Robinson, I believe, is your old coordinator. I think you have to do it. You have to clean it out again, literally again. And you've probably got to get an offensive-minded head coach in there because you are stacked on the offense. You've got some players. Yeah, Pitts too. Pitts is a nice player, and it's nice to see him develop a little bit this year after last year and the year before. You know, the greatest tight end ever to come out, and he's going to be this and he's going to be that at Florida, and then they didn't even utilize him. And now he's performing. So you've got guys there. But Raheem Morris, yes, they should be better than what they are. No question about it. Absolutely no question about it. They should be able to win some games by accident, and they're much better defensively now than they have been. But there's something missing there, and there's something off. ultimately, with the proper coaching, I think you will have a lot of success with Michael Penix. I'm a huge, huge, huge Penix guy. And just for the record, on what happened with Michael Penix, what he said 4, 5, 6 weeks ago about the coaching, Michael Penix is a self-admitted hermit. He doesn't even like to go out of the house. He's a little bit of a strange bird in that way, to where some of the things that he says, he's just a more of a reserved, isolated introvert. He's not your standard rah-rah guy and all of that. So I wouldn't crush him for that. I think some of that will come out over time, and he might adapt and evolve a little bit. But you've got a lot of makings there. You've got some players there to be pretty darn good, but I'm not sure you have the staff there to fully capitalize on what they are. And I'm glad, honestly, I'm glad that Raheem Morris got a second chance. And I thought he had a chance to do it, but there's some issues there, and hopefully you guys get it worked out. Arthur Blank has another major decision to make. There's so much changeover there. Changing your coaches or your coordinators constantly is never a good thing. You got to have continuity, but you got to hire the right people. And that's why I believe that you shouldn't make a change with the Lions in Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, because it's not going to be like some sort of solve all and make everything okay. It doesn't make you be less injured. It doesn't change those things. What does need to happen is they need to evolve a little bit, and they need to get a little bit more aggressive, like they have been. Brad Holmes has been ultra aggressive in moving up in drafts. Yes, Bijan is crazy athletic. There's no doubt about that. He's even prime Saquon and prime Bijan. I'm a prime Bijan guy. Yeah. And Bijan has never had the offensive line that Barkley has had in Philly, not the Giants, but he doesn't have anything. And I know Lane Johnson's out, but he doesn't have what Philly has, period. And the dude is dynamite. It's him and Gibbs, if you ask me, because they could do it both running and receiving. And they can pick up blitzes too. It's not like they're a liability out there and they can't pick up a blitz. You can play them all 3 downs. So yeah, I'm a huge Bijan guy. So it's like, keep the continuity together, keep Holmes and Campbell together. But this, we got to get all of these team guys. We got to coach them up. You gotta make a move, and you've got to get more aggressive. Yeah, that's what I was saying. They're aggressive in the drafts. You move up and get Tesla, all those spots. You moved up and got Jameson Williams, all those spots. So you're aggressive there. They're not aggressive in free agency because they believe in self-breeding. They believe in breeding their own product. And I believe that that's a formula to win. Now, as a Detroiter, what the Tigers are doing, it's not going to work. They're trying to play money ball. It's not going to work. I have Gibbs and JT as my running back in 1 and 2. Wow. JT. Who's JT? Man. Cook and Gibbs? That's pretty strong. Who's JT? You mean Bijan Robinson? I'm talking about the guy who says I have Gibbs and JT. Oh, Jonathan Taylor? Yeah. Well, you got some issues there. You got some issues there because of the quarterback. Poor Phillip Rivers. Dude's going to get destroyed tonight. He's going to absolutely get annihilated tonight. I'm glad he got that new insurance policy. That retiring and coming back, and he gets insurance for him and his entire 7 kids or whatever he's got for the next, I think it's 10 years. He might need that tonight. He might need that tonight. Man. Yeah, so I wouldn't expect Jonathan Taylor to do a whole lot the way that they're currently constructed. So let me round off this topic here. I love you guys for popping in, and I always like to answer questions live in the show. But to get back to this, is the Lions very aggressive in moving up in drafts. They're not aggressive in free agency. DJ Reed was their basically their top free agent acquisition They like to build from within. I got it. I like it. But you have to still have a mix. And they're very reluctant to go make that move. And as much as you draft, like I said, you draft the guys like St. Brown, you draft the guys like Jamison Williams. Those are your guys. You draft, move all that capital to move up to get Tesla, which is a terrific player. I get it. And Laporta, and you can keep going. Montgomery's not your guy. He's somebody else's guy. Gibbs is your guy. I got it. You moved up to get him too. It's like, at what point are you going to get aggressive to bring something in to complement them? If you had another edge that could dominate the game, and again, Trey Hendrickson was asking $40 million. Myles Garrett, $40 million. $35 million maybe for $35 million for Hendrickson, and he's injured anyways. Myles Garrett, 21, 22. Yeah, well, they have spent picks on defense. They have. Yeah, I saw his catch. I did. But at some point, you've got to give up some of your capital. You guys are fantasy guys. That's where fantasy is real life. When you develop enough assets, sometimes you have to move them on in real football, not just fantasy. You have to move them on, and you have to get guys to fill other areas where you're weak. That's what fantasy football is built on. You're your own GM, and you see that. I love what Tesla can do. The dude like loves the goal line. It's like at the goal line, he can just do whatever he wants. That's a beautiful thing. But you want him over St. Brown? You want him over Jamison Williams? At some point, you got to say, okay, Khalif is good enough, and you saw what he did when he's healthy. He's your slot guy, and maybe you move Tesla and you get something in return to help where you are most efficient. Offensive line, defensive backfield, other edge, because it isn't Marcus Davenport. Can they give up on and dude's injured again? He's a walking injury report. Literally. It's like, it's not a knee, it's a shoulder. If it's not a shoulder, it's a wrist. It's like, enough. Just move on. Some guys are just injury prone, and he's not a difference maker when he's healthy anyways. I'm talking about a guy on the other edge that you cannot start doubling. Y'all could have got the players Dallas traded for. You talking about Kenny Clark and Quinlan Williams? That's not necessarily what we need, but I hear you. There's a cost associated with that. So let me just get to this. So what do? Lions fans, you're seeing this, clip this. You're seeing this on replay. What are you doing? If you're their GM, what are you doing? I used to be a Michigan fan. I grew up crazy Michigan fan. Insane Michigan fan. I'm 53 years old. I was watching Michigan replay in 1981-82 when it was Anthony Carter and Butch Woolfolk. Year after year, they left. One year after the other, I was crying. We were laying on the bed. We were watching it, laying forward on the bed and like just watching Michigan replay because that was the thing back then. So, yeah, I grew up with Bo Schembechler. I grew up in the Michigan era, and I'm no longer a Michigan fan. Why? I left the University of Michigan in the Brady Hoke era. Then I got really excited when they hired Harbaugh. And after about 4 years of his nonsense in the trees and Ric Flair and all this and his arrogance and all of this, and then the constant losing to Michigan State and Ohio State and not winning any big game, I checked out. I gave up. When I hired Sharon Moore, I gave up. And now that is, man, you got me talking Michigan. Are you a Michigan fan, Daryl? You got me talking about Michigan. I had no plans on talking about that, but I'll talk about it for a second. You a Michigan fan, Daryl? If you are, I'll talk about it a little bit more because I do have some thoughts that I could share. It's all over my X account, but I can share it here. Give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. You a Michigan fan? Are you a Michigan State guy? What are you, Daryl? Daryl Terry. Daryl says, are you a Michigan fan? Oh, you're a Georgia fan. Okay. Man, you know how to pick them. Kirby Smart. Heck of Daniel, what are your thoughts on what happened there? My thoughts are this. Ward Manuel should not be involved. Indiana. Ward Manuel should not be involved in this head coaching hire. let me finish my thoughts on Harbaugh. So Harbaugh comes in. He's Ric Flair. He's in trees recruiting. He's doing all this stuff. He's acting like a fool. He's losing every big game there is. And then suddenly starts to change things around. But I had already checked out. After being a Michigan fan, whatever it was at the time, since I was probably 6 years old, it was in my home. My father, my brother, just everything was Michigan. And I said, that's it. I have had enough. As a former coach of basketball, it just is a certain way you go about doing things. And Jim Harbaugh was anti that. And then as I saw things develop, yeah, they won the national championship. I was actively rooting against them. I was rooting for Georgia. I was rooting for TCU. People thought I was crazy. I lost some friendships on that, if I'm being honest. But I don't regret it. And then you find out about the Connor Stallions thing. You find out about the other assistant coach Weiss, excuse me on the name, getting caught, tapping into people's emails and explicit photos. And then you find out about Sherrone Moore. And let me just say this about Sherrone Moore. Listen, I don't condone anything he did. That's horrible to do that to your wife, to your children, to your own life. And that girl is responsible in it as well. She did some things that she shouldn't have done. I doubt she didn't know that the man was married. There's a lot of blame to go around. But I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to beat on that man and make fun of that man. He has some serious issues he needs to get right with. And I hope that guy gets the help he needs. I really do, as a person and as a human being. And I hope he comes out of this and makes good in areas that he seriously hurt. His children will have to grow up with that forever. I don't wish that on anybody. It's a terrible, terrible, terrible thing. That being said, Jim Harbaugh vouched for him. Ward Manuel made that decision to hire him. Apparently, this has been going on for multiple years, 3, I think it is. And the Michigan program has known about this for a long time. It's basically, some of it I believe is being covered up, but I think a lot of it is starting to trickle out. I think that this was a known thing. I think that people around the program knew it. I think Ward Manuel knew it. I think probably players knew it. It's very, very. I'm working in Ann Arbor right now. Let me put that up on the screen so everybody can see that. I'm working in Ann Arbor right now. I'm looking at the big house, and between the Sherrone Moore stuff, the Lions game, the lack of money spent with the Tigers, I'm needing a little hiatus from it all. Yeah, man, I'm with you. It's really, really a tough thing to watch. But back on the Michigan thing, listen. If the University of Michigan football program was not a dumpster fire right now, Kenny Dillingham, regardless of what he says, I believe this wholeheartedly, and I'm going to just die on this hill. Kenny Dillingham would have left his alma mater, and he would be the head coach of the University of Michigan if it was just, hey, we want a new coach because we weren't performing. Like a standard, we need to change our head coach. Michigan is not a desirable place to coach. Who wants to be the first coach to come in after Harbaugh's mess and Connor Stalions' mess? You can go back to Brady Hoke and when I say Brady Hoke, or even when I say Rich Rodriguez, I'm not saying that they did what Harbaugh did, that they cheated. I'm not saying that they did what Sherrone Moore did. I'm just saying it contributed to the downfall of the program. And now it is in a place it has never, ever been. And I grew up on Bo Schembechler. I didn't like Bo Schembechler as a football coach in terms of winning or losing. As a builder of men, yes. As a man who was about the team, his famous speech in the locker room and said, after this game today, you will play for a contract, you will play for something else, but you will never again play for the team. I used to teach my teams that, even though that was basketball, I used to refer to that quote. So from that standpoint, the Michigan man, all that, which I'm done with that too, by the way. I'm done with that. Just get a good character guy. Get a good character guy from the outside that believes in your principles and you believe in his, and make it work and come in. And it doesn't have to be a Michigan man. When Harbaugh went out, it didn't have to be somebody on the staff. Pick the best person for the job, regardless of wherever they come from. And I believe Dillingham would be that guy. Had it not been for the situation it is. You could say whatever you want about the big block M, and I'm sorry, Daniel, about the big, and you're looking at the stadium, The big block M, it doesn't mean what it used to mean, in terms of the football program. It's just not. It's now become the example of what not to do and what not to be and what not to let your program become. And it's getting harder and harder, honestly, with all the universities and all the money and all the portal and all the NIL and all the stuff. It's harder than ever before to run a quality program. I'm genuinely wondering, since we paid Underwood all that money, if he wanted out, what would happen to that contract? I believe if he wants out, it becomes null and void. They don't owe it to him if he decides he wants out. You could double check me on that, but I believe he walks away from that and he voids it. I believe that's in the language of the contract. I honestly don't believe that he should have ever. I don't understand how he was the number 1 rated player in the country. I really don't. And if I don't even know if he has improved. If you ask me, he may have regressed in some areas. I don't see anything significant there to suggest that he's going to be this future great. If you listen to Tom Brady, and he does an amazing job now, speaking of Michigan, I thought he was terrible when he started as a broadcaster, and he's become the best, in my opinion. I was big Greg Olson guy. It was Olson 1, Romo 2, Aikman 3, Brady 4. Now, I believe it's Brady is 1, Olson is 2, Romo is 3, and Aikman is 4. When you hear Tom Brady break down a game and he talks about a 1 ball, a 2 ball, and a 3 ball, and 1 ball being a fastball, Bryce Underwood is a fastball every play. And it's like no one on your team has helped him. No coach on your team has helped him to learn on how to layer passes. Very concerning if I'm a Michigan fan, which I'm not. And I would be concerned if you love Underwood and you like what he means to the program, why would he stay? And if you don't think that he's not watching exactly what they do with this next hire, he's invested into it. His agent's invested into it in terms of watching what they do and whether or not he's going to enter the portal. There would be interest in him. Quarterbacks don't grow on trees. People think he is something, and there's probably a coaching staff out there that can make him better than he was this year and make year 2 better than 1, like significantly. I don't believe the Michigan coaching staff, the one that was in place, has it. And they're on their 5th or 6th choice now. Man, I didn't think I was getting into a Michigan conversation, but it's fine. I think they're on their 5th or 6th choice right now. The University of Michigan, who used to always believe that they had the number 1 pick and anyone would stop the music, they would stop what they are doing and they would come to Michigan, is no longer the case. Football program. It is no longer the case. I said this on X a couple of days ago. I think what's going to end up happening here is you're going to go on your 5th or 6th pick, your 5th or 6th choice, maybe even more deeper down the line than that. You're going to take a guy who ideally in a perfect world you wouldn't take under the circumstances, but you basically have no choice. You have to pick the best of the lower bunch, and it's kind of got to be your guy that is going to have to help rebuild the program and its credibility and respectability and its brand. And the players have been left out to hang and dry. Hang out to dry in the worst. This is like one of the worst things you can do to your team. They have been just totally abandoned. This guy ran some dual life. And if you are a player for the University of Michigan, or you were a player that was being recruited by this guy, I mean, you got to feel like pretty abused and pretty much like you don't matter. So I would expect them to lose a lot of players, and they have lost some recruits. So the next coach that comes in has got to rebuild all of that. And I don't think it's your ideal 10-year hire. I think it's a guy to come in, patch it up, get it back to respectability, distance itself from the past, distance the now from the past, build something that's more respectable, and then you're probably going through a search again in 3 years. That's my own opinion. I could be wrong, but I don't think this hire is going to be your guy long term. It's a short term, midterm type of guy, maybe 3 to 5 years. He should JS when to LSU. I'm not sure what you're saying there. He should JS when to LSU. Go to LSU and play for Lane Kiffin? Yeah, I don't think. I think Lane's already got his guy that will enter the portal when they get eliminated which will probably be this week. Georgia's going to take them out. They don't have a chance. And by the way, speaking of that, not LSU, Ole Miss's defense is extremely overrated. When they play a team that can run the ball and pass the ball, they will be exposed. They don't have difference makers on that field. There's things that I saw in the Tulane game that if Tulane wasn't as bad as they are, they were able to execute them and gash them, and then they turned the ball over. The better teams won't do that, and they'll be able to cash in and make good on those drives. And Ole Miss will be in trouble. But LSU is a great destination to go to. Lane Kiffin's a whole nother topic that I have all over YouTube. Go ahead and scan that QR code up at the top. Takes you to our YouTube page, and smash that subscribe button. You can see that there with Lane. I'll probably have a lot more to say about that because I haven't liked the things that Lane Kiffin has done in the past, but I don't necessarily blame him for what he did now. And I give a great analogy. If you worked for Tesla or you worked for GM and Tesla wanted to hire you and you were involved in an EV project and Tesla gave you everything you wanted, that's the number one place to be, or Tesla is the number one EV maker in the world. LSU is a top 5 program, in my opinion. Would you leave GM and your team on a 5-year project you've been on, 2 of those 5, 3 of those 5 years, whatever? You were getting close, and Tesla gave you an offer you couldn't refuse. What would you do? That's up there on YouTube, and I explain it. What's going on, Josh? I explain that in detail. Go ahead and check that out on YouTube at PB Sports Talk, or scan the QR code in the upper right-hand corner. Take you right there. But now let me just wrap here because I wanted to go an hour max from the Philippines. Wow. I wanted a wrap here on the Lions. So it's like, what would I do if I was the Detroit Lions? Yeah, I just don't like how any head coach could accept a job and just leave his team in the middle of the season. Well, he didn't want to leave his team in the middle of the season. And there are other coaches who accepted a job and the team allowed them to stay. Tulane's head coach, there are others. You know, the way that you got to remember the way that the schedule is set by the NCAA. And you got to remember how recruiting is set up and portal is set up. These teams like LSU, Michigan, others, you can't wait forever. So it's like the way the schedule's set up, and you tab the guy that you want, you go for the guy, you tell them that you're interested. And Lane Kiffin was caught. This is what I say is like, you don't want to leave your team at GM if you're on an EV project, but Tesla needs you now. And they give you the money and they want you now. And they're going to give you the keys to the program. What are you supposed to do? No one's going to wait for you, Lane Kiffin. It's like, think about it if it was you. And I'm a former coach. You don't want to leave your players. He didn't want to leave his players. LSU was giving him the permission to finish out what he started, but you need to commit to us. So if you're Lane Kiffin and you need to make that known to Ole Miss, I want to take this job, but I'd like to stay here through the end of the year. That decision was made because of Lane Kiffin's past. He might have did some things to ruffle some feathers. I get it. But the bottom line is he wanted to finish what he started and be the coach of LSU next year. Ole Miss said, if you stay, you're the head coach of Ole Miss next year. What would you do? I'm going to LSU. I would try everything I could. I would try everything I could to stay. They didn't let him. They let many of his assistants do it. That's a Lane Kiffin pass thing. But it's an NCAA issue. It's a portal issue. It's a recruiting issue. You see what I mean? I mean, it's a hard thing. Look at DeBoer. Look at Dillingham is in a bowl game. DeBoer is in the all this distraction over with Bama. If Bama loses the other day, he may have become the coach. So should we say Kalen DeBoer did things the right way if he was backdoor doing things, and he puts out a statement and says, I'm the Alabama guy, but then you lose and then you go. So you were leading everybody on. So everybody has a big axe to grind with Lane Kiffin, but at least he was transparent about it. I'm interested. They're interested in me. You know, I need to think about this with my family, but I wanted to let you know. That's how at least we understand it. He tells them, I want to go, but I want to stay to finish this. I want to see this through, see if we can win it all. They didn't let him. How are you going to be mad at him? But we're not going to be mad at Kalen DeBoer. We're not going to be mad at Tulane's coach for taking the job. They let him coach the bowl game and get the playoff game and get absolutely the doors blown off him. I don't know. All right, finishing up on the Lions. People are going to ask me what I would do, what I want to do. And you gotta, obviously you have to finish this out. You have to win both your games. You have to play as if nothing has changed. You pray that Green Bay loses 2 games. It's never going to happen. They might lose 1. As we go forward into the new year, obviously you get healthy, but you're going to have to change. You're going to have to change your approach and get a little bit more aggressive on bringing in a free agent or 2, even at the cost of future picks, even at the cost of current value or assets that you have, like a Tesla. You have to think about that. How can I make my team better to absolutely improve next year from more than just a coach them up moment? Like, we've legitimately added difference makers. Not just are we going to make a difference in the way our current guy is playing, and are we going to get him to, from an 8 to a 9 or from a 9 to a 10? We're bringing somebody else in addition to who we draft, whoever we draft in April. We're targeting XYZ person, and we're going all out for that guy. That needs to happen. Not because of a window. That needs to happen because it's the right thing to do. Your window is wide open for many, many years. There is no window. As Jared Goff gets a little bit older, you replace him, in the process. Most of your team is young. You are a very young team overall for the most part. You got a lot of young guys on the O-line, a lot of young guys on the D-line. You have a couple veterans mixed in here and there. You've got Anzalone's not spring chicken, but Jack Campbell's young. Derek Barnes is not old. Your secondary is mostly young. You've got to add something in there other than the draft and other than the coach them up. And if you don't, you may end up coming up short again. So that's my take on that. You keep everything else in place. Dan Campbell's not going anywhere. Brian Holmes is not going anywhere. But adjust the philosophy, guys. It's now 5 full years. You're going into year 6. You have not reached your goal. You have not reached the fans' goal. You have not reached your own goal. They both have Super Bowl philosophy. Super Bowl is the standard. Winning it all is the standard. Getting close is not. You want to get over the hump. You want to win it all. Do what's necessary, and it's going to hurt. There is some pain to go through to get that. And that means maybe you drafted somebody, you developed them, they have top-end talent. They're a year or 2 away from being a superstar. That could be Tesla. We gave up a lot of capital. We moved up to the 3rd round to get him. Somebody else wants him. Somebody else needs him. Somebody else can give him all the snaps that he needs. You can't give it to him right now. You can't. And you're not going to be able to. That's a valuable asset that can turn into other assets in other areas. Time to start thinking about that. Change the Lion way in that respect. So it's a sad Monday, man. There's going to be a lot of overreaction. I haven't seen a lot of X this morning. People are going to say fire here, fire there, fire everywhere. Get rid of them all. This, that. Jared Goff stinks. Go get a quarterback. I'm sure that's what I'm going to see. And a lot of teams are hearing that today. A lot of teams. If I'm Baltimore, again, scan the barcode or QR code in the upper right-hand corner and hear what I have to say about John Harbaugh. You let Mike McDonald get out of the building. You let arguably one of the greatest coaches of the next 20 years get out of the building to keep a 62 at the time, 61 at the time, now 63-year-old John Harbaugh to continue to run that franchise with Lamar Jackson, who is not even in the top 8 quarterback. I've said it since the beginning. People think I'm crazy. Go ahead, think I'm crazy. He's not a winning quarterback, period. He's a fantasy quarterback, and when it matters most, he is the biggest small game quarterback. In big games, he comes up the smallest. That's my opinion. Blame it on Mark Andrews all you want for his fumble. Nope. Nope. Doesn't matter what you do in week 7. matters when it matters most. All right, everybody. May see you before. A lot of new people joining today. I really appreciate that. Please follow us on X at PB Sports Talks with an S on the end. Scan the QR code in the upper right-hand corner and smash the subscribe button on YouTube. Appreciate all you guys. Have a wonderful holiday. Enjoy family. Hopefully you get a present or two that you've wanted. I say this at the end of our show every Friday, which will probably be dark again this week because of the holiday. Hug someone, hold someone, love someone. Life is short. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate you. Have a great day. Bye-bye now.